Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're doing a very simple tutorial, again, very beginner friendly. It is going to be a halter top that has mesh for the bottom section. Let's get started with the materials that we need. First, I have loops and threads, acrylic yarn in weight 4. I have already used this for another project, that's why it looks so small in the packaging. And then I have scissors, darning needle, and a 4.25mm hook. So for this top, you can definitely start with chains and then half double crocheting into every single stitch. At the end of each row, chaining one and then half double crocheting into every single stitch. But I am not going to show that because every single tutorial I start off with that and then I have to take it apart and do my foundation stitches, and it just takes extra time. So if you do want to do that, you can look at my triangle top tutorial or you can look at my tank top tutorial. Both of them, the first section where it says like option 1, it'll show you how to do those first few rows. And for this one, you do just want this section to cover your bust section, and then you can come back to me to join for our mesh stitches. But I'm going to start with foundation stitches. If you've never tried foundation stitches, I would totally recommend trying it out. Honestly, it just saves you so much time because you don't have to do chains and half double crochet into your chains, which I feel like always takes a long time. Instead, you're doing those first 2 rows at the same time and it's a lot faster. So in order to start a foundation half double crochet, you're going to make a slip knot. You're going to put your hook in, tighten up, and then you're going to chain 2. And into your 2 chains, you're going to yarn over and go into these 2 loops of the first chain. Then you're going to pull the loop and pull through, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over, pull through all 3. So we are working like this way instead of working sideways like you would with a chain, but that just means you can add more stitches if you need it. And one more time, yarning over, going through these 2 loops on the side, yarning over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 3. And so for this section, you want it to reach pretty much from the edge of one shoulder blade around the front to the edge of your other shoulder blade, because for the back we're going to do a chain tie, which means that we want it to have extra like wiggle room so that we can actually tie it as tight as we need to stay on. But yeah, you're just going to continue these foundation half double crochets until it reaches that width, and then you're going to do these rows until it reaches the edge of your bust section. But I will show you what to do at the end of this row, and then I'll come along with you for the next row, and then I will rejoin you for those mesh stitches. Okay, I'm just doing my last foundation half double crochet, and I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. So now what we're going to do for this next row and for every single row after this for the bust section is start with 1 chain and then half double crochet into every single stitch. So when you're half double crocheting, you're not going to do it the same as the foundation where you're yarning over, going through, pulling through, going through 1. Instead, you're going to yarn over, go through, and yarn over, pull through all 3. Yarning over, go through both, pull through, and yarn over, go through 3. And so you're just going to continue doing these half double crochets for every single stitch in your row, just making sure you are going to every single one and not skipping any. Okay, and coming up to our last few stitches, doing the exact same thing, half double crocheting into every single one of them. And you just want to make sure that you do go into this last one here at the corner where you can see those 2 loops, but you're not going to go into this one because even though you can see those 2 loops, it's on the side, which means that it's a chain. So that's the end of your row. You're going to chain 1, turn your work, and repeat that exact same thing that we just did for row 2. So chaining 1 at the beginning of the row and half double crocheting into every single stitch up to the end, not crocheting into the chain, and then chaining 1, half double crocheting. So do these rows until it covers your entire bust section, and then come back for the mesh stitches to start. If you're confused at all, just go back and replay row 2 and make sure that you're doing it the exact same way for the rest of these bust section rows. Okay, I ended up finishing the top section with 11 rows of half double crochets, so now we're going to move on to our mesh stitches. At the beginning of these rows, you're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then turn your work, and you're going to skip the first stitch, the second, and go into the third with a double crochet. So yarning over, going through, yarn over, pull through 1, and pull through 2. Now you're going to chain 1, skip 1, and go into the next with the double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, go into the next with a double crochet. chain one, skip one, go into the next with a double crochet. And just repeating this chain one, skip, double crochet for the rest of the row. And then at the end of the row, you might end up having the perfect amount to skip one and go into the last, but I have 3 stitches left. So I'm just going to do my chain one like normal and then go into the last one, even though I'm skipping 2 instead of skipping 1 with a double crochet. Now you're going to chain 4, turn your work. And so now what we're going to do is instead of crocheting into stitches, we're going to crochet into gaps. So with our first gap, we're going to double crochet into the first, like so, chain 1, and double crochet into the next gap. And so if you can see where I put my hook when I'm doing these double crochets into the gaps, I'm literally just in the gap. I'm not going to go into any stitches, I'm just in this gap that we created through our chain ones, skip ones in our previous row. And so you're going to just continue this for the entire rest of the row. And then here at the end of the row, you can either do your last double crochet into the gap here, like so, or you can do it directly into the third chain. It really doesn't make a difference, just like whatever your preference is, but I'm going to go into the gap, like so. And so now we're going to chain 4 again, turn our work, and just make sure that we are doing that double crochet into the first gap. It kind of looks weird when it's like leaning on itself, but once you get further along, it is just going to stand up straighter. And this is only to make sure that you have the same number of gaps each row, because if you don't do this, then you end up 1 gap short on some of your rows. So making our first double crochet, kind of scoot the stitch over if you want, chaining 1 and double crocheting into the next gap. And then we're going to continue chaining 1, double crocheting in the next gap for the entire row and for the rest of these mesh rows. And so you can do these rows until it reaches the length that you want. There's no specific row you need to reach, but I will come back at the end and let you know how many I end up doing if you end up wanting to kind of like imitate the exact number of rows that I'm doing. But you can also always put it up to yourself, see how long it's reaching, because if you want it more cropped, you're going to do less rows. If you want it to be full length, you're going to do more rows. And so just approaching our last few mesh stitches, and so again, going into these last gaps, including the gap at the end created by those chains, like so. And now we're going to chain 4 again, turn our work, and continue with these mesh stitches, starting with that first gap. And you can always adjust that stitch over a little bit if you want to, and doing these double crochets, chain 1, skip 1 into the next gap. Okay, I just finished my mesh rows. I ended up doing 8 rows, I believe. So we are going to move on to the back tie first. And so what we're going to do for this is just a ton of chains. So we're going to make a slip knot, and then we're going to go for around 100 chains, but you don't necessarily have to count. You just have to keep measuring up to make sure that it can fit to tie for this section. Okay, I ended up doing 130 chains, and so what we're going to do is kind of loop it through so it goes back and forth like this, and then you're going to tie it down here. So we're going to chain 1 extra and cut off our work, and then we are going to take around the middle. It doesn't have to be exact because you can always adjust it later. Go into this top corner, push your hook through, grab your chains and pull them through, and do the same thing in this corner, going through, grabbing the corner and pulling it through. And then we're going to go about halfway down, grab our yarn and pull it through. Doing the same on the other side, grab the yarn and pull it through. And then we're also going to go in the bottom corner. So go to the bottom edge of your solid stitches and pull it through, and then same thing on your other side. Okay, And so now the back is completely done. So I'm just gonna tie this off here. And now you could either honestly leave it like this and just have it be a tube top, but I want this to be a halter top. So what I'm gonna do is just find 2 points on the side. And so I generally like never measure this, but if you want to be exact, you can try it on, measure the exact spot you need it to be. I found that like it's pretty easy to get to nearly the right spot. So you're just gonna put your hook through, hook the yarn on, and then tie it on with a normal knot. And I like to tie it twice just to make sure it's extra secure. And now we're just gonna start doing chains from here. Okay, and then this is 50 chains. It's always better to have more chains than less, because if you have more than you need, it'll still work. It'll just be like a little bit longer of a tie on the back. But if you have less than you need, then you're not gonna be able to tie it properly. So once you reach that amount, chain one extra and cut off your chains. And then we're gonna repeat that exact same thing on this side. So I'm just gonna make sure that I'm about the same amount over. And then we're gonna tie the yarn on the exact same way with going through once, going through a second time, and then making 50 chains plus one, and then cutting off our work, pulling it through, tightening it, and now you're completely done except for weaving in your ends. So for this one, I am going to do that off camera, and if you need a refresher on how to weave in your ends, you can go back to my ultimate beginner tutorial. I have a section in the video where I focus on weaving in ends, or you can go back to the tank top tutorial, I showed in that one, but just as a time-saving thing for this video, we're gonna do it off camera. All right, I just finished weaving in my ends, so this top is completely done. I hope that you made one of your own. If you do, please make sure to tag me on TikTok, on Instagram, whatever. I would love to see what colors you choose and all that stuff like that. And if you have any questions, make sure to let me know down below. Otherwise, make sure to check out my Depop and my Etsy as usual to see crochet stuff that I'm selling. I will be listing this on there. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!